Hi friends, good to see you. My name is Father Michel from Tweeting with God, and today I'm going to receive some of your questions on my phone, and I'm curious to see what those questions are. I'll try to answer them to my best knowledge. So let's see where the first question is. We know that Tweeting with God started with a youth group in the Netherlands. What's inspired you to compile the questions? Yeah, well, indeed it started with young people asking questions. They had so many questions that I was overwhelmed in the first place. And then we started to talk about those questions. And as we were talking, other questions came up. We started in the very first meeting to speak about the Big Bang and how the universe came into being. But then we moved on to the question about evolution and what is the difference between animals and human beings. And from there we moved on to other questions. So step by step, those questions, the real life questions, they helped to compile that what is now the arsenal of questions of Tweeting with God. So let's see what other question is there. You had the Tweeting with God questions sent to you by young people. How did your background help you to create interesting answers to them? Well, that's an interesting question, but in the first place, the answers didn't come from me. They came from the young people themselves. We started to talk about what was important to them. And we had only one single rule, which was there was no taboos. And the secondary supporting rule was be careful in what you say and in how you say it, but you can have any opinion or vision. And that made it possible to talk in a very free and very deep and profound way, because everybody could, from their own perspective, formulate answers. And then at the end of the evening, I would make a summary of the arguments that I heard and add to that what the church fathers and the theology is saying about this particular question. So the answers, they do come from what the church is saying, but at the same time we take into account all those different arguments and questions, sometimes very critical, of the young people in that group. Maybe there's another question coming in. There we are. How many questions did you receive? How was the selection process? I had a habit of talking about the faith with young people after Mass on a Sunday, and they would come every time with a few questions. But as they had so many questions and there was not enough time, I told them, why don't you write them down on scratches of paper, on Twitter, on Facebook, and all kind of other means of communication. In total, I received over 1,000 questions and then started to read those. And I saw that some of the questions were very private and they were answered in a private conversation. Other questions were parallel to others or similar, and we could answer them together. And on the whole, what you read in Tweeting with God is the basis of what they were asking. And some of those questions in Tweeting with God you may not ask immediately when you're thinking about the church, but in our conversation we got to other themes. So that is how the body of questions has grown over time. Right, there's another question here. Did you ever feel insecure about what you were writing about? That's a good question. Yes, absolutely, because there's many things in our faith that we don't really know about. There's many things that we don't understand about God. So sometimes the answer to the question was, I don't know. Either because I myself don't know and I had to look it up and I promised to come back to that the week afterwards, or because there's not really an answer here on earth. We have to wait for the time that we will be with God in heaven to understand better. But step by step we did discover that even though some questions don't have an answer here on earth, there's always something we can say when we start with the beautiful center of our faith, which is the love of God for each human being. There we are, another one. What sources did you use to validate the answers of Tweeting with God? Was the content validated by other people? So what we did is have a dialogue. That's how everything started. And there were many arguments brought forward by young people why it is logical that we believe this particular theme of the faith. But then of course in the book and in online material we didn't want to make mistakes. So we are using the Catechism of the Catholic Church, the great writings of theology, but also the fathers of the church, those who in the first centuries have been thinking a lot about God. And we have been using a lot of material from various sources, especially the documents written by the popes and the different councils. So there's a lot of material that we could use. I put it all together, and then thankfully there were some great theologians that have been looking through the material that I wrote, just to make sure that the content is reliable. And wherever we publish the book, it is always checked by the bishop or somebody in his staff, just to make sure that also in the translation it is saying that what the church is teaching, because our faith, it is something so valuable, so beautiful, that we need to be giving the right answers in the right way. Well, I must say it was great to receive your questions. Some of them took me by surprise. Find more and more answers to that which is most fundamental in your life. And God will help you on your journey. May He bless you and keep you. Thank you.